Все, можемо починати?
Зараз.
Доброго дня,
Good morning, dear colleagues. Good morning, everyone who joined this translation. And we really thank you for attention to our topic. We would like to mention from the very beginning that 11 months on the international official competitions, there were no sportsmen from Russia and Belarus, but after the 25th of January and the claim that was published by the International Olympic Committee. So there was a General Assembly of the International Olympic Committee today, and we have also representatives here of the National Olympic Committee and representatives of our, so to say, family who will clarify our position to you, and they will inform you about the decisions made today. The first, I would like to invite the President of the National Olympic Committee of Ukraine, Olympic champion Vadym Hutzait. Hello, everyone. I thank you very much to all of you that you came here for this very important issue, the issue which was highlighted on the 25th of January on the website of the International Olympic Committee about the possible allowment of Russian and Belarusian sports people to international competitions and Olympic Games. And then there was the committee of the committee came together, and we are really against the allowing sports people from Russia and Belarus to allow them take part in competition. So we applied to the president, to the Thomas Bach of International Olympic Committee, and also to members of the Olympic Committee, and to all international federations from in all kinds of sports, to presidents of national Olympic committees of other countries, with the text that as long as the war is going on, as long as our motherland is bombed, as long as we are fighting for our freedom, independence, we cannot see, and we have a great wish not to see them as long as the war is lasting and until our victory in this war. You already see there is a discussion on the international level, and we have already some countries who are supporting us. And today in the morning, we already conducted the executive committee again of the National Olympic Committee, and then we had extra assembly of the National Olympic Committee of Ukraine, where we discussed the issue of work, because as of today, everything depends on us, how all of us are going to work, because there is no decision yet about official decision about participation of Russian and Belarusian sports people in the competition under certain conditions that were not highlighted as far as I know. So what we've discussed today on the assembly, that we all need to intervene into this process, National Olympic Committee, President, I personally, all presidents of federations, we need to work on this issue, because this also depends not only on International Olympic Committee, but also depends on international federations in each kind of sports. Therefore, today in Assembly, we are going to discuss this issue, and it's very important for us that each member of our Olympic family works on their position, meaning that all presidents of federations work like horizontally with the presidents of international federations, all sports people of Ukraine who are experienced, to say, to highlight in their opinion how, as of today, we cannot see and meet in international competitions Russian and Belarusian sports people. I would like to mention personally from my side, my opinion, that I think that the price of life of Ukrainians is the highest value. And we have no right for a compromise in this situation when our Ukrainians are dying, our women, our children are dying, and we see how, I will repeat myself, our cities are being bombarded, and how 364 objects have been ruined, sports objects, and we have a lot of sportsmen who died. And we cannot, as of today, have compromise about allowing Russian and Belarusian sports people take part in this competition. So we have to work on, like everyone, not only Olympic family, but all Ukrainians to work together, because I'm confident that there are connections that many people have with international federations, members of the International Olympic Committee. We need to move this forward, not to see at all until our victory, until the end of war, not to see Russian and Belarusian sports people. And many countries are already with us. Today I've been talking with the president of National Olympic Committee of Latvia, and they already made the claim that they are supporting us in fighting against Russian and Belarusian sports people, not to see them on international level. Yesterday I've been talking to the president of National Olympic Committee of Lithuania with the president of NOC of Poland. They are with us, and you know that already yesterday there was a claim from 4 ministers, Minister of Poland, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia, on not allowing Russian and Belarusian sports people to participate in international competitions. So there are countries who are supporting us already. The Ministry of Poland and the person who is responsible for the sports in Great Britain, they are collecting the summit of ministers of Europe and also authorities who are responsible for sports in the countries on the 10th of February in order to discuss the issue on not allowing Russian and Belarusian sports people to participate. We need to work, all of us, on this. And that's my personal opinion. If we all are going to work and do everything, but we won't manage, then in my personal opinion, but that's just my personal opinion, we will need to skip Olympic Games. But this issue will be resolved only with the joint meeting of our National Olympic Assembly. So that is, the Olympic family has to make a decision, all members of our committee, because it's very important for us, for our sportsmen, our people, to participate in the competition. And the beginning, the start is very important, and it's the most important start for each sportsman is sports person is participation in Olympic Games. So we will decide all together whether we should go there or not, if the conditions would be such that Russian and Belarusian sports people will participate under the neutral flag. Thank you very much, Vadym Markovich. If, colleagues, you have any questions at the end, we will answer all your questions. And now I would like to mention one more time that the Olympic family of Ukraine is part of international sports community. And among us here, we have a person who since 1994 is a representative of International Olympic Committee, that is Valeriy Borzov. The floor is yours. Also representative of the National Olympic Committee, and also the founder of National Olympic Committee. That's right, in 1991. Dear colleagues, at the beginning, let us agree about our positions that have to be clear, right, and correct. First, the meeting of the Executive Committee of International Olympic Committee, not the International Committee itself. So we want to go to Olympic Games. It's our honor and it's the fate of our sports people. But some obstacles might lead to the fact that we won't be able to go there because of moral and ethical issues and problems created by war. I can't imagine even that me from the pedestal where there is me and the Russian come back to Bucha or any other ruined city, Kharkiv or Dnipropetrovsk, and there I will be perceived as a native person after what this family survived, this city survived, or a certain person. I can't imagine this to myself. Therefore, at present, in this moment, we need to end the discussion on these issues, to say to each other who can do what in order, first of all, to change the decision of the executive committee. Secondly, to load all the agents of influence, of information about the consequences of war, ruining the Olympic heritage, killing sports people and specialists, and answer the question whether Russian military, sports people, army, can they say that they are against war or not? On the conditions of the legislation of Russia, that's almost 8 years. Therefore, if the Olympic Committee of Russia can't say that they are against war, corresponding to the Heorhii, because the first words of the ode about sports, it's sports and peace. And if neither sports people nor the Olympic Committee as the official body can say nothing about their position about war, then we have just two options left how we can impact this situation. The first one is to change the decision of the executive committee. Secondly, clarify the mechanism how Russian and Belarusian sports people can be allowed to participate. If they have to make like announcement of their position, then where, how open that will be, and what follows that. The decision of the organizational committee or a decision of federation, and with the term when, before the competitions or before the Olympics, or in general, like in any other term. So we had a lot of questions, legal, moral, ethical, and issues related to sticking of Russian National Olympic Committee about the code on doping and also ethical code of International Olympic Committee. What is the condition of this issue? It's not the criticism of National Olympic Committee, but the issue of loading agents of influence and with information, full information, which is maximally possible. It is postponed a lot. Therefore, the executive committee, when making decision, unlikely they had full information about the events in Ukraine, about the change of mentality, change of psychology, change of, in general, ethical and moral values. Just recently, I've been talking to the director who is replying to the International Committee, and he was asking how the General Assembly was. And I mentioned one more time that unlikely you know how Ukraine changed, how much changed after these barbarian attacks. After kids were kidnapped, because it's kidnapping. They were taken from Ukraine without agreement from the side of their parents. And I'm not mentioning anything else. Do you know about that? Did you see that or not? Unlikely. Therefore, I wouldn't like to say that we are talking. So I just made an example of Paralympic Committee, who excluded Russians from their organization. The process is going. We raised this wave, and we will see what we will have out of it during the year. I offer to popularize participation in Olympic Games, to spread, to show our hard condition, moral condition, and so that foreigners, our friends, they should understand that with such a mood, with such a change of mentality and psychology, we can't go and congratulate on the pedestal sports people from Russia and Belarus. Here is nothing against, but it's for preservation of Ukrainian proudness. So I wish you to highlight on that. Thank you very much. Actually, information war is not less important than the war on the front line. And those who are telling the truth about what is happening in Ukraine are the sports people themselves, who, under such difficult conditions, they are taking over their will, and they are going and they represent our state. During 2022, almost 3,500 awards on official and international competitions were achieved by Ukrainian sports people. Today, we have with us Marta Fedina. Last year, Ukrainians in artistic swimming, they got gold on the Championship of Europe. Marta has roots from Donetsk. She lived in Kharkiv, and now she is defending the honor of Ukraine. So I offer to listen to her, what she feels, what she thinks, and what she tells to foreigners when she is talking to them. Champion of the world, and she also participated in the Olympics. She's a medalist. In such age, she is such experienced sportswoman. But what she got from this war, I would like also to hear that. Hi, everyone. I am glad. It's honor for me to join our discussion today. And I'm really glad that we are talking about that, because that's not only the problem of sports, but of all our country. Why this issue was raised about returning Russian and Belarusian sports people to participate in competitions and Olympics. The war is not over. People are still dying. Civil population is dying. Sports people are dying. And they will never be able to participate in the competition. As it was already mentioned, it's the second time that in a year and in my life that I am forced to flee from the so-called Russian peace, because they somehow decide that they can come and take our homes. At the beginning of the full-scale invasion, we were in Kharkiv. Our whole team, we have our base, our pool, swimming pool in there, our homes. We were forced to leave at the beginning of March to Italy. Yes, Italy accepted us. They provided us with all the necessary conditions, and we are really thankful for that. But we had no understanding what should we do next. We had no understanding about our trainings, about competitions. We understood nothing, because at the beginning of March, we had to have the World Series. It had to be the start before our main start of this season, the Championship of the World. Of course, we had no thoughts about that competition, and we had no understanding what should we do. But then, with time, we realized that we need to continue our sports activity, and we have to stand for our sports front, for people of the whole world to see our country, to see that we are unbreakable. And first of all, I would like, when we will come to the competition, to say to people from other countries what the enemy does to our country, what the aggressor country is doing, Russia is doing. It's ruining our sports objects. It's ruining our homes. Every day they are killing people. And those are unequal conditions from the very beginning. So how can we even talk about them coming back to the world level? We've been to Italy, as I mentioned, half a year. For half a year we've been there, and after the last competition we came back to our country. And I went to Kharkiv, because we all know that Kharkiv was and is under everyday shellings. And it was really dangerous to be there. So when coming home, I saw this horror with my own eyes, probably 40% ruined. And also our swimming pool Our base was ruined. We've been training there for the whole of our life, and our sports swimming was born there, so to say. But we were lucky enough, and now we can have our trainings in Kyiv because we know what is pool for two federations, swimming pool for two federations, because it's too little for us and also for the jumpers. But we are thankful for that opportunity because we can stay here in our country. But what do we do with the sports people who won't be able to stay here nowadays, who just have no opportunity to train? They have to be in the different country. They have to look for some kind of opportunities for trainings. And even those sports people who are staying every day, they are in danger because you never know where and when the rocket of the enemy can go, and anything can happen. And I would like to mention as well that the conditions for trainings are more difficult because there are hits into the sports infrastructure and many kinds of sports. They have to conduct their trainings with taking into account the electricity, whether it's available. We are lucky enough that we can be trained with generators, but those are just some of sports people who can do that. So those are unequal conditions at all. And the admission of Russian and Belarusian sports people, that's impossible. Thank you. Thank you very much. We are supporting you and we have same worries. Well, actually, Russians are allowed and we are killed just because we are Ukrainians. That is how publicly Ukrainian sportswoman Yulia Levchenko reacted to the Russians blaming that because of sanctions they have no access to international competition. There is a lot of such stories indeed, because our sports people, they show that they are brave and they have the will to stand in spite of the blames and so on. What else the world has to know about the life of Ukrainian sports people when we are making the ending decision about the admission or not admitting Russian and Belarusian sports people to competitions? I would like Oleksandr Krykun to share his opinion, the Vice President of National Olympic Committee of Ukraine. And also in 2004, he was the medalist of the Olympic Games, and he was heading the Commission of Athletes of Ukraine. Thank you very much. It is really hard to talk about this topic. This topic shouldn't have been raised even. The war is not over, and I've been just listening to Marta, and I recalled how last year, before the Championship of Europe, Katerina Tabachnik had to go there and to Kharkiv, and the shelling goes to the house with her mother and kills her mother. What kind of conditions? What are we talking about? So when the Executive Committee of International Olympic Committee, they were making this decision, my personal opinion is that they are making some kind of the breach in sports. I always was proud that I'm a sportsman. I'm the Olympic sportsman, that I was fighting for medals, that I was participating in Olympic Games, and Olympic Games indeed is the best forum in the world. Not only for sports people, but in general. All the time there is friendship, peace, and agreement. But how can we talk about that when people who are killing and who are making this terror to our country, they will be next to us? I can't understand that. Many of us have relatives in Russia. It happened so. Personally, I, for half a year, hadn't been talking to them. Not because they are bad, but I can't. Morally and ethically, I cannot step over this. Therefore, I would like to address especially athletes because I know that for athletes, it is clear that the main principle of this life is the Olympic Games, the Olympics. Maybe not even winning, but participation. But we cannot compare this nice form, this aim, and to put life of people like from the other side. So I would ask you to mention clearly this opinion that this position is the human position. And you mentioned correctly about Yulia Levchenko when the Executive Committee of International Olympic Committee, they say that you cannot make discrimination according to passports. So why you're killing people because of their passports? Thank you very much. Indeed, today it is very important to consolidate the efforts of everyone so that the voice of all people is heard, of sports people, of relatives, those who suffered losses, those who lost their homes, because among the sports family, we have almost 40,000 of our athletes who became displaced people, and they left their homes. And just as we've been talking, even Yaroslava Mahuchik, she had the opportunity only once per year to go to her home. Is there some kind of comparison to go to the Olympics one time or to go home one time? Also, the representatives from the Office of President of Ukraine join us. Vice President of National Olympic Committee of Ukraine, Oleksiy Dniprov. Please inform us. Good day to all the participants. You know, just like Mr. Alexander, I just caught myself with the thought that it's some kind of surrealism which is happening right now, because Russia conducted a full-scale invasion to the territory of Ukraine. Russia is killing Ukrainians. Russia is destroying our infrastructure. They are destroying our sports infrastructure. Our athletes have no opportunity to have normal trainings. And based on this, we have to defend ourselves from international organization who has to defend us and has to defend the rights of our athletes, has to defend these principles, Olympic principles that they are popularizing in words. So personally, for me, it causes certain disturbance, because having studied all the documents that are given by International Olympic Committee, I see their manipulation with such principles that they are claiming they have. For example, what the discussion started with the last week, the statement that they made, just as it was mentioned correctly, that it was adopted not by the Assembly of the International Olympic Committee, even though that everywhere in text it is mentioned that it is absolutely supported by all the members of the Olympic Committee, which is not true, totally not true. Not all members of International Olympic Committee, not all federations, not all sports organizations, and far not the most of sports world organizations are supporting this decision. And the last week, we were communicating a lot with our colleagues from different countries on the level of sports federations and international organizations and diplomatic organizations, and I have to say that most of them are supporting Ukrainian position, and they are surprised greatly that there is such a statement from the International Olympic Committee, the head of Mr. Bach. He was in Ukraine. He visited ruined sports complex, which was ruined by Russian rocket. He knows perfectly the situation, what is happening. And even yesterday, when they mentioned the statement, they made Q&A sessions, if you saw, whether Mr. Bach is going to visit Bakhmut. And it was written that the president knows everything about the situation in Ukraine. So we cannot make excuses for them that they don't know something, because they are writing that we know everything, we feel everything, and so on, and all together they are doing such things. Therefore, of course, it's wrong. And in my opinion, some unclear arguments. What is guiding International Olympic Committee? Well, one day the history will put everything to places, but they are defending whom? They are defending those who, not a single Russian athlete publicly was not speaking to support Ukraine. Not a single Russian athlete was denying the war. There were examples when they heroically supported war in social networks, in other media. They were showing some forbidden symbols of propaganda, and on different tournaments. And we have also screenshots when the members of the Olympics team, they were calling to kill Ukrainians. So that's the truth. What I would mention, what actions we are doing. First of all, the president of Ukraine is having this situation in his personal control. Every day he is checking everything that is happening. He's monitoring the situation. And you know that he personally is conducting negotiations with representatives of different countries. That was Prime Minister of Canada, Prime Minister of Belgium, and other authorities. He is raising this issue and he's asking to support Ukraine and not to allow International Olympic Committee make decision on return of Russian and Belarusian sports people. And the president applied personally to each head and international world federations and kinds of sports that are going to be presented in the Olympics in Paris. And he was also calling to judge this statement of the Executive Committee of International Olympic Committee and not to allow Russian and Belarusian sports people take part in international competitions and Olympics in particular. We are talking to sponsors of the Olympic Committee with the International Paralympic Committee, and it was already mentioned that they excluded Russians and Belarusians from their members. So I have a question. How can the Olympics in Paris happen with Russians and Belarusians and Paralympics without them? Again, it doesn't look really good. And in addition, with the International Anti-Doping Agency, because we know the problems that Russia has, because there is only not so much time is left before the Olympics, and I think that if they have no licensing for conducting doping tests and so on, now they can do this during this year. I have certain doubts about that. So also our ambassadors and heads of diplomatic institutions in the countries where they are also working with corresponding sports federations and Olympic committees. And in addition, many civil organizations, they are showing that they are not satisfied with that. For example, Ukrainians are saying that they are categorically against such an approach from International Olympic Committee. And in addition to that, many, and not only sports organizations, but many scientific organizations, students organizations are also speaking, and they are in the same line with us about this. So in my opinion, we have to put as much efforts as possible, first of all, not to allow such a decision from the International Olympic Committee, and secondly, do everything for our Olympic sports people have all the opportunities to get ready for the Olympics, have the ability to get trained, and just like that, to be represented at the Olympics, to get medals for Ukraine, but of course, without participation in such international competition and without being present there, the murderers and criminals, military criminals. Thank you very much for your attention. Indeed, decisions are made by people, and any competition is conducted for people. And first of all, it depends on us. Where do we go? And in general, our position. With the voice of athletes in Ukraine probably now is the Committee of Athletes of National Olympic Committee of Ukraine, which is headed by the champion of the world and European champion, Heorhii Zantaraya. Hello, I will say a few words about myself. I was born in Georgia, and in 1993, the war started, and my family was forced to leave Georgia and come to Kyiv. Many times when I was giving interviews, I thanked Ukraine for a peaceful sky. Today the war came to us. We have to be united and make everything for Russian and Belarusian soldiers, not sports people, not to participate in the competition. They violated all the Olympic values. They were attacking other countries in 2008, 2014, and the last one, the Winter Olympics. And of course, the Commission of Athletes of National Committee of our country, we are sending letters to the Athletes Commission of International Olympic Committee with that they are supporting war and they are making calls for conducting war in our country. And we were sending letters to other Olympic committees in different countries. We sent just the same letters. We have to be united. We all have to say and to tell people about what is going on here. Because recently I've been talking to the head of the federation, Judo Federation, and they've been asking me, what would you say that your countries are not helping to representatives of like other nationalities? But I say, like, look at me. I've been living in Ukraine for all my life, and I am originally not from Ukraine. I can't say that there is something wrong with that. And now I'm the member of the National Olympic Committee. And I say that this is the answer to all your questions. The propaganda that you see in TV, that's not truth. And you have to come here and to see. So together we are strong and everything will be good. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to heroes. Indeed, we believe, Heorhii, probably you have Ukrainian soul. If you are so hard for Ukraine. And, you know, I would like to say that my nation is also like not a big. I love my country. I live here for all my life. And I'm going to live here. Okay, then Vadym Markovich, inform us where we're moving, what are our further actions in order for those who want to support us, they can join our front, so to say. First of all, for 11 months, we are not seeing Russians and Belarusians in international competitions. That's the fact, and we have to thank for that to Thomas Bach from International Olympic Committee, because this recommendation is working and they are not there as of today. That's the first thing. Second and main, if discussion started about returning of Russians and Belarusians, then all of us have to unite. All Ukrainians, National Olympic Committee, all sports people, specialists who are working as of today for development of sports in Ukraine, we have to work each one in their position. I'm asking everyone, President of Federation, all our well-known sports people, we already see how Volodymyr Klitschko made statement, Andriy Shevchenko, and many other great sports people. Olga Harlan, who comes every day in social network, and she is against war. I'm asking dearly, and much time we together with Heorhii, we spent for all our sports people. I would like to thank Marta, who is with us, and all your team, because you're just one here, but you have a team discipline. I'm confident that everybody is supporting, because almost all of them are from Kharkiv. They felt that on themselves, that they were born there, they were trained there in that city, in that swimming pool. They became the champions of the world and medalists of Olympic Games, and now they have to move because the swimming pool was bombed. And at the same time, they are discussing the returning of Russian and Belarusian sports people. That's dishonest when we are talking about the attitude to Ukrainians and our sports people. Therefore, our path is hard. Our decisions are hard. You know that for each sports person, the Olympic Games is a very important competition, but not more important than lives of Ukrainians. So now we unite. We are working in our positions in order not to allow this, and we move forward. If we will succeed when we all unite with all countries, Olympic committees, federations, everything will be great. If not, then we will also conduct discussions, consultations, on the assembly of our Olympic Committee, and we will make the decision. Thank you very much. Colleagues, maybe you have questions. And please say who you are and your question. Hello, Elena Rybinska, Channel 5. Let us imagine the worst situation which might happen, that neither the coalition of 40 European countries, USA, and Anglo-Saxon world won't impact the assembly of IOC, and Russians will go to Olympic Games. What will happen next? They will perform, they will be seen, and people will say, okay, that means that everything is okay. What can we do? And how else can we impact this if 40 European countries can't impact that, Mr. Bach, and the whole IOC? Thank you. I mentioned a few times already in my speeches, and recently I mentioned that we have won. We are working, we are doing everything for them not to be there. If they go there, then we will come together and we will make a decision together how we will move on. We have to know what the sports people will say, what trainers will say. We all will have to make the decision. Either we are participating further, or, as I've mentioned already, my personal vision about this issue. But as of today, the decision is not made yet, so we are working for Russians and Belarusians not to participate. Thank you. Next question. Petro Troic, Suspilne Sports. Russians actually came back to sports and tennis from the beginning of the year. Ukrainians have to play against Russians, and very often they are showing their position. They are not greeting them and not congratulating after the game. How do you think? How do we have to impact this? Do we need to forbid that, or it's the choice of sports people? What should they do in such situation? And actually, the IOC already explains this situation. They say that they are playing well, and we can just spread that to other kinds of sports. And also, if you allow me, if personally you just allow such an option of when we are standing against that, when like other countries decide to go, can Ukraine refuse going there? How constructive that would be in terms of who is going to present Ukraine in the competition. So the first question about tennis, you are totally correct. And I raised this issue today on our assembly. extraordinary assembly, and the Olympic Committee mentioned why, in this case, how is that possible that as of today, you see how we all came together so that Russian and Belarusians are not presented on competition, and at the same time in competition in Australia, our sports woman plays with the Russian sportswoman under the neutral flag. But it's the example, no matter whether they are greeting each other or not, if they play together, that can happen in any other kind of sports. And I think that it was necessary to stand against this, to show the position, to show that we are Ukrainians, that we are fighting for our independence in war, and to play. I won't play with that sportswoman. That's my opinion. And today I asked the federation. Unfortunately, the federation didn't join. I had a question. In the whole our Sports Olympic Forum, I wanted to ask that question to a federation. Either the federation works and fights for them not to participate, or say publicly that you are supporting the aggression, because it's not clear for us how. Like we saw today, Olga Harlan and the executive committee of IFC, she said, I can't imagine myself. I want to go to Olympics. You all know Olga Harlan. She is one of the best sportswomen of the world, not only Ukraine. So she's one of the best in the world. She's one of the best in Ukraine. And she said, I can't imagine myself next to the Russian sportswoman or sports people. So I really want that as of today, later on, when we have the collegium decision, when we all will just decide that we will have certain plan, we will move on. But in order not to have such cases, I agree with you. And that's a very good question. As for going to the Olympics or not, I already mentioned that. I will mention that further on. It's the main forum, Olympic forum, for each sports person, for each person who gave birth to the child, and the child was spending the whole life in sports, and parents were investing into their child to become a sports person. And you know, there's a lot of cases, and when they are getting this license, of course, you really want to participate. Therefore, we will have to make a difficult decision. It's a very difficult decision. Indeed, it is hard, but I am confident that here in this room, we won't find a person who will say that, well, it's just the decision that we can make in a second or a minute or like 5 minutes. It's very important for us to have our flag during the Olympic Games. It's very important for our sports people to be on the pedestal and to show all countries that Ukraine is, was, and Ukraine will be. But not in such tragic time that is happening in our country. And how many people are dying? How many cities are being ruined? And the war is not over yet. And the most scary thing, we don't know when the war will be over. Thank you. Heorhii wanted to add. Yeah, I just wanted to add about the sportswoman who played tennis. Listen, many sports people are participating in war. And I myself was fighting. And those whom I know, they are in war. And they ask, like, how is that? How can it be? And I think that that was the decision of the sports woman or sportsman, and not all sports people will understand them. While we are having war, we should not shake hands. We should not stand on the same pedestal. We should not like swim and like fight with those sports people. So that's my opinion. Thank you. Are we having some more questions? Vitaly Tkachuk, Ukraine Forum. Question to Volodymyr Markovich. You mentioned that you had a talk with the ministers of sports of different countries and presidents of national Olympic committees. Tell me, please, are they ready in case of anything to to ballot the Olympics. And one more question, maybe balloting the Olympics is a violation of charter. You're always asking a lot of questions, you know? I'm just joking. So violation of the charter. And what about violation of peace? Isn't that a violation of charter? You know? So they violated the peace. The armistice. And people are dying. We are fighting for our independence. Somebody's talking about the violation of the charter, and we say that we want to live in a free country, independent country, democratic country, and in our country. And that's what we are fighting for. So, no, I don't understand how we are violating the charter. But what about the armistice? That is as for the second question. The first one. So we have one aim that is about the boycott. So when we are talking about Russian, Belarusian sports people, we are discussing this issue. As of today, it's the main thing for them not to be there. If all the steps will be made, you heard my position, you heard my opinion. And as for the other countries, when all the decisions will be made and we won't be heard, then we will have to discuss this issue. Are we having some more questions? Hello, Metro Didora Espresso. Tell us, please, what steps have been made already now in order to get the coalition not to allow Russians to participate? Maybe you're writing letters to different National Olympic committees, maybe you involve sports people. So what steps have been made by our Olympic Committee already? Thank you very much. I mentioned at the very beginning what we've done, but I am ready to repeat that. I'm ready to repeat that every 15 minutes. The first thing, we wrote the letter to the president of the International Olympic Committee that we are fully not supporting their consultations about returning of Russian, Belarusian sports people. We wrote letters to all the members of the executive committee. We wrote letters to all Olympic committees of other countries, to all presidents of federations, international federations in all kinds of sports. We collected presidents of federations, the whole Ukrainian, and told them to work on their levels, because each president of federation is a member of international federation, and he should himself work together with the whole executive committee, with their sports people. So, for example, like in the past, because some sports people say that I have have many positions. 1 month ago, I wrote that I left the position of the head of the fencing committee. So she is on the Congress, other sportswoman. She is on the Congress of sports people, and she was against allowing Russians. They voted against this, and now it is assigned for the 10th of March, again, extraordinary Congress. So it's very important for us so that all presidents of federations are working on that. And I've been talking already to the National Olympic Committee of Lithuania, Latvia, USA, Poland, and I received already the letter invitation for the meeting to my colleagues, presidents of National Olympic Committees, in order to discuss this issue on not admitting sports people. Yeah, we are working. We have no other way. And that's what I'm telling you as a president of National Olympic Committee. Just a tiny remark, we discussed today the assemblies. Whom do we want to make a fool? Neutral status? What's that? Russia was performing on two last I guess the previous Olympics, they were not under their flag, but the flag of the Olympic Committee. But when they all came, they went to a stage, they supported war. So what kind of neutral status can we mention here? Thank you very much. You have some more questions? Stanislav Rashkevich, Tribuna.com. We have such a situation nowadays that Russia and Belarus were allowed to Asian Games with the decision of the Olympic Council of Asia. Can we, Ukraine, somehow impact this decision? How and what can we do? Do you have any contacts with the federation? So, for example, it's again Southern Korea. Okay. I thank you very much to the journalist, because South Korea already made a statement, clarification. They want to get clarifications how they are admitted. So, Southern Korea, it's interesting because maybe they did not discuss that internally. I know this issue, it was raised back on the 19th of January when we were present at an international summit of the Olympic Committee, and there were consultations about admitting. So the president, Thomas Bach, he mentioned how much they did for Ukraine, and indeed they did a lot for Ukraine. I mentioned that they are not there yet because of the recommendations of the committee, and you all, and I am confident that you as our authorities did everything so that Russians are not there yet. But at the end he asked, let us open discussion about admitting or non-admitting. I took the floor. I spoke up. I was against, for sure, against this. And I had really a harsh speech, in order not to admit Russian and Belarusian sports people. And then there was a head of the Asian continent, an Olympic, as far as I understand, like National Olympic Committee, probably. And he suggested that they can give all the conditions in order for Russian and Belarusian sports people participate on that continent, getting licenses. Well, the committee accepted that because, as far as I understand, it's not the end decision again, because if a Korean NOC asked about that, then there is no end decision. So we will just watch the situation and how it ends up. Thank you. Are there some more questions? If you allow, 2 more questions. The first one, according to the results of today's meeting, as far as I understood, in 2 months, there will be the consolidated position of National Olympic Committee. That is 1 month in order to get answers from other countries, 1 month for processing. Isn't it too long? Please, because I have some doubts. Maybe it's too much. And you also mentioned about a lot of positions. You are still Minister of Sports and a President of NOC. Do you plan to continue working in both? Really good question. It's very important when fighting with Russian sports people and Belarusian sports people. Thank you very much. It's very interesting, very important question as of today. I don't plan to, but I'm still working. It is not forbidden by law. I am working according to the acting legislation, and I am doing everything from my side against participation of Russian and Belarusian sports people. And the first question, don't forget about that. So on today's Assembly General, we've been working on the roadmap, the step-by-step way, which will be done by Olympic Committee in order not to admit Russian and Belarusian sports people. So according to consultations with different countries and their committees, the decision will be made about extraordinary assembly, and the decision will be made there. Are you satisfied by such an answer? But it doesn't mean that for 2 months we are going to just sit and wait. We are going to work actively. No, maybe it will happen much earlier. We will just see whether indeed there is a coalition of countries. And we already see some signs. Those are Baltic countries, some Eastern European countries, and it's too early to speak about the official position. There are like separate statements, and yesterday we had a statement of 4 ministers, Poland, Estonia, Lithuania, and Latvia, and that is just the beginning. Indeed, those consultations, they are already held with the president of NOC, and those are like phone talks and meetings, direct meetings, offline meetings. Therefore, in nearest time, we will have a lot of media activity also in this direction, and everybody will feel that. Dear colleagues, I am sorry. I would like to mention, just next to me, there is a great sportsman. Last year, it was 50 years as he set a record in the world. Great sportsman, great person, 2-time Olympic champion, Mr. Borzov. He was also the Minister of Sports and president of National Olympic Committee, and also the founder. Under such an uneasy situation, we can go to different. Unfortunately, the speaker was not heard. So our 1 hour came to an end. We thank you very much. And we truly hope that 40 countries supported us during the first months, and our sports people were given a shelter and bases for trainings. And we hope to have consolidation with many countries and the whole world, and everything will be Ukraine.